Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're listening to this and whatever time it is. I'm really excited to share this episode with you, mostly because I'm super interested and can talk for hours to the person that is my guest today. Her name is Britney, and we met at Unplugged Meditation in Los Angeles. And the work that she does is very inspiring, and let me just tell you, it's like mind-boggling. So, unfortunately, her brother had passed away in 2015, and we get into the journey that she went through with the grieving process and how she started to trust her intuition and really grow through those really difficult times. And in doing so, she had enhanced the relationship with her brother even after he had crossed over. So she shares her ability and she shares her gift with helping others in the grieving process. And we get into so many amazing topics, everything from what a session looks like. We talk about her background. We get into what happens when we die and the experience and how to know if you're ready or even if you're not ready to kind of communicate with those loved ones that passed over, the different mindsets. And Brittany just brings such a calming and ease and knowledge to the conversation. And she's so well versed on these topics, and she has an amazing heart. So I'm so excited for you guys to listen to this. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will also tag her information in the show notes at the bottom. So I hope you enjoy. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to talk to you.
I know. I've missed you so much. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
Yes, out of like everyone I've talked to, I just feel like you, along with everyone else, have such like an interesting story in researching about kind of the work that you do and how we met. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I've met some of my best friends through Unplugged Meditation, and I'm so glad that it's brought so many of us together and it's provided all of us with so much just time and space to work on whatever we're, going through. So
Yay, seriously, Unplugged is the best.
I know.
All right, so usually with my guests, I start off in the very beginning. So if you want to share a little bit about your journey and what kind of led you to what you do today.
Sure, yeah. Back in 2015, had a brother who had passed over, and he and I didn't have the greatest relationship. And with that, I started just in time, after a certain amount of time, because, once you start the grieving process, you rebel, find different things to kind of mask the pain that you're going through. So it took a little bit of time, but after a couple years, I decided to commit to myself and commit to working on that relationship with him, because him and I didn't really bond that much in this lifetime. And so I was introduced to different meditation studios, and I just took some time with myself. And with that, there were psychic healers and mediums and things like that, who have introduced me to like a whole new realm of living. And back in Pennsylvania, there wasn't very much of that. I didn't know much of any of that kind of stuff that went on. And, death has such a stigma around it. And with meditating and quieting my mind and really sticking to who I am and meeting my brother in a very interesting and unique way, I've found so much healing and so much ability and potential. And with that being said, the death of my brother was something that was the catalyst for that. But overall, we all have access to this potential. And that's kind of the goal, is to
Yeah.
just share what I've kind of discovered through that.
Now, was this something that you were brought up with, kind of this intuitive sense or just this knowing of communicating with the other side, or is it something that you kind of learned along your journey?
Yeah, well, I've always been like interested in that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say that I would like back in the day I didn't realize like what I was doing. It was more so just for like fun or like I would make Ouija boards off on like paper and use like cardboard and just like make my friends sit down and, and do this kind of weird stuff. And it was all fun and games for me. But then there were just, there's obviously scary experiences that come along with that. And I learned quickly that it wasn't something that I should dabble in. But at this point, like I've kind of cleared that and healed that. And I've found a way to do it in a more like level-headed and connected in type of way.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't
but
even know anything about your Ouija board experience, which that's where we're gonna have to talk about that for sure.
yeah.
I'm gonna add that into the notes. But what did your grieving process look like? What was kind of like the ups and the downs, and if you could just walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step for me was I was just in denial, and there were people around me that were really, really struggling and had an awesome connection with my brother. And for me, it was interesting because him and I didn't really connect that much prior to his death. I mean, we were young. He was 18 and I was 16. So we were like children at that time. And, you fight at that age and just go at each other's necks. And that's kind of the dynamic that we had. And so I was able to kind of just push it off and I just went along, like went with my life. And I was just there for the people who needed it. And it didn't allow me for any time to think about what I needed for me during all of that. So it took some time. And then I just kind of masked it with partying and drinking and that kind of stuff. And then after some time, I was just so miserable. I was having like panic attacks all the time. I couldn't sleep at night. And I remember there was a moment where I just finally like just surrendered and I was like, something needs to change. Like I
Yeah.
need something because I can't live like this anymore. And so that was when I just put my hands up and I just dove into all of this kind of stuff. And I was very lucky to have that catalyst with my brother passing for me to really want that change. I know a lot of people struggle with if there's no catalyst, there's really no reason to change the life you're living. And
Right.
people, live miserably. But for me, with my brother passing and wanting to connect to something higher and beyond just like physical existence, I was able to use him as like a guide per se. And yeah, I mean, I was forced to just look beyond me and him and like our troubles and disconnections as children and all of that.
And I think that's the most beautiful part is the evolution of your relationship, like you mentioned before, and kind of
Yeah,
how it
no,
grew after.
he's my best friend now. It's bizarre. And I know that sounds nutty, but he really is. And he's brought me with that. He's connected me in with some of my best friends and my boyfriend now. And I have relationships with different members of my family that I didn't used to have. And yeah, it's been amazing.
And so, what was the first time that you kind of had that connection with him after he passed?
So we, where do I begin? It's hard to like really remember because when all of this first happened, I got just like subtle signs and my family would ask for like certain things and he would communicate to my mom through like feathers and, my family members through different things. And then just for me, like whenever I'd see like a yellow car for him, like, cause he loved yellow, he was a yellow baby. And so whenever I'd see yellow, I'd be like, that's a sign. Or if I'd be thinking a certain thought and then I'd see like a sign on the side of the road that was yellow, like I would kind of put it together and there'd be like certain synchronicities and things like that.
Yeah.
But the first time that it like really happened with me was when I finally put my hands up and I was like, okay, please help me. Like I need to like do something. And I started like focusing on myself. My boyfriend came into my life and there are just so many weird little similarities that they have. And, I mean, there were a ton of times. One of the major times that is significant, I think, is when my boyfriend came into the picture. And I remember we were laying in bed one night, and I had a really bad day, and I was talking to my brother, like in my head, and I was just asking him, like, to forgive me for the past and everything that we've gone through. And my boyfriend was laying next to me. He was actually dead asleep. It was like in the middle of the night, and I couldn't sleep, and he was sleeping. And I was like, I love you so much. And right as that happened, my boyfriend like turned around and started rubbing my arm. And this was all in my head, so I wasn't saying anything out loud. And my boyfriend turned over and he started rubbing me, and he was like, I love you too. And so my boyfriend was
Wow.
kind of like, I guess you could say, like a channel for that to kind of
Right.
take place. And then after that happened, I didn't wake him up or anything because I thought he'd think I'm a freak. But I continued just talking to him in my head, and I kind of like saw him appear, and we had a dialogue, and it was really, really magical and amazing. And ever since then, it's been just like open communication, which has guided me toward, even going beyond the relationship that I have with him, and kind of seeing the connectedness that is within each and every single one of us. And it's, helped develop other relationships in just like real life and with other people who have had like family members or loved ones who have passed on. And yeah,
Wow. That's beautiful.
thank you. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but I really am so, so, so like grateful and like happy. And I feel like everything, and it's so cliche, but like everything happens for a reason. And my understanding of that is like, once you come to the acceptance of everything that has happened, like you get to learn the lessons, and you're just in like so much gratitude for everything, every hardship, every good thing that happens to you. You're just like so grateful for everything.
Right. And I think, like you touched on it before, the synchronicities. And when you, I think, acknowledge it and when you're open to receiving, I think that's when it kind of comes through.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of what my sessions with people. That's kind of the goal, is to kind of see where they're at mentally and emotionally, to see how receptive and open they are to that, and kind of learning how to create their own, I guess, language, or just their own, yeah, I guess language is the word, with their whoever it is that they're trying to connect in with, and figure out like, and ask for certain signs, and then receiving those certain signs, and then asking for more, and then asking for other guidance. And
Nice. Yeah, that was going to be my next question too, is what a typical session looks like. Um, so is it based in like intuition, kind of being able to receive these signs, or where does one start off?
okay, so my sessions kind of change and evolve like as I do them, which is cool for me and for the clients who, reach out to me and are ready to kind of dive into that type of reading. But I wouldn't say that I do like channeling work, or even like communicating with, people who have crossed over. It's more so just I ask a series of questions, and I get a feel for where the client's mental and emotional like state of being is, and their religious background, and just seeing what they're receptive to, and what they're looking to get out of connecting in with their loved one on their own. And so it's kind of just getting them in that receptive state that we were talking about, so that they're able to do it on their own. Because I've always struggled with the concept of, and I know that it's possible, and I think it's absolutely beautiful and amazing, but I don't think everybody has the ability to sit down and, open up to like a higher consciousness and hear these messages like the way that like mediums do in mediumship.
Right.
And so I think it's just, no matter what your clair is, your claircognizant, audient, or whatever it is that you are, it's not about like that. It's about creating a receptive state and clearing out blockages that may be keeping you from being able to integrate this type of relationship in your everyday life.
And that's so interesting. And it's also really inspiring because, like you said, it's more focusing on the blockages, whether that's like religion, which I think, and I'm sure that you could attest to this, it plays a huge part, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'm very lucky that I wasn't raised in a religious background. I had people around me who were religious, and you know, I don't disagree per se, like with religion. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think it connects people to something beyond themselves, and it's a healing. It's absolutely
Right.
healing and beautiful and amazing. Um, However, without religion, I mean, I can attest to this. I didn't have any religious background. I wasn't conditioned to, or I didn't read a book that taught me what I'm supposed to like follow and do, and like what morals were and everything. And I found such a beautiful and amazing connection with something beyond myself without that. And I mean, the resources, it just depends on kind of what you're born into, or whatever you kind of gravitate towards in your like upbringing, and as you grow older and you're able to establish your own beliefs and everything. But I mean, if you don't know what you want to do, I think I can attest for those that don't really have a guidebook, or you know what I mean,
Right.
to show them. But I mean, so a Meaning to Mourning, which is my website and my services,
I
is
love the name, by the way.
oh,
It's the, it's,
thank you.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I was just sitting one day and it kind of good morning popped into my mind. And then that's kind of where the snowball effect kind of happened. And I just sat down and I like just started the website, and yeah.
Now, I know you touched on it a little bit, but where, I guess, does this fit in, if it does at all, in comparison to like channeling, like a seance, psychic work?
So, I mean, I think what I've kind of learned and what resonates for me is that I think we're all psychic or intuitive. I think we all have this connection within us. And so, I don't really even consider myself like a psychic or a channeler. I mean, I guess I've in the past sat down and attempted like seances and things of that nature. And, but like on like a daily basis, my practice, I don't consider it like psychic work, just because it's such like an everyday integration. Like it's constant. It's not something that I practice anymore. And
Right.
that's just with, kind of going beyond the unit, the character of Britney and my brother Cody. And I've with like communicating with him and getting legit, signs and things of that nature. It still felt like there was something like missing or lacking, or it wasn't as physical as I kind of thought it'd be. Like I didn't ever like hear. I did, but like I don't on like a daily basis. It's not something I really resonate with.
Right.
I don't really like hear him or like see him or like experience like ghosts and things of that nature. But I with being somewhat like not unfulfilled, because it's absolutely magical, and I still ask for those signs and things because I think it's super cool and just adds a little like spice to your life. But I was still feeling like there was something either lacking or like that I wasn't doing right, which I think is important too. I think it's important that we just continue to like keep our minds open and not like get stuck up on a certain way, and especially in like the healing world. I think that's super important to keep expanding your perceptions and everything. And so I felt kind of called, or I was, I guess, like guided toward through like just YouTube and online and researching this kind of stuff. Certain teachers who have guided me to see beyond the characters that we are. And I started to like really feel, I used my brother as the catalyst, but it was more so to connect in finally with my truest and highest beyond like Britney and beyond Cody, my brother, and really understanding the infinity that exists within each and every one of us, and that connects all of us. And it kind of went beyond like, I guess you'd say like the psychic work, or
Right.
trying to connect in with like my brother on the other side. It was really connecting in with the presence now, and like where he is here, and like where, we're all connected everywhere and through everything.
Like this greater consciousness, this oneness.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, for the clients that you have, once you kind of work on their blockages and they become a little bit more receptive and open, and I like how you say it on the site, you're like kind of opening the door, right? So you're like opening yourself up. How do you like kind of protect yourself when it comes to that? And I'm going to tell you this really short story. So,
Yeah.
On Halloween, like a few weeks ago, the Den had this workshop and it was communicating, like with, loved ones from beyond. So it was interesting because I had never really done anything like this before. And I think this might be like the most similar, to your work. So we were kind of doing it and just feeling like body, sensations and heat and warmth and all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, for the people who are like more open, and I think during that session I actually did have like a deeper connection. I was really present, which, sometimes when you start meditating, you're not sure how it's going to go, but I really did feel at peace. How do you protect yourself? And also, how do you know that it's the person that you hope it is, if that makes sense?
I mean, I think it all depends on the person, because I mean, it just depends on the client, and just where they're at mentally and emotionally, because there's certain clients who are extremely open and receptive, and it's important to let them know that they are protected already and they are connected in. And there's certain clients that still have some fear running in like their emotional body, or mental blockages that kind of trap them. And I think that whatever you believe, you kind of, it manifests. And
Right.
it's important to be aware of each individual person. But I mean, there's so many different outlets for ways of protection. I truly believe that it's as simple as intention and, feeling the best that you can. And I know that that's hard sometimes for certain people, but at the same time, it's whatever is going to come up for the individual person is supposed to come up for them. And sometimes people are meant to go through, scarier experiences and more traumatizing experiences to help shake them or wake them. And whether that be, with ghosts or people on the other side, or just people, like whatever it is that you're going through on an everyday basis. I mean, whatever is going to come up is going to come up. But I just, at the end of the day, I truly believe if you're intentional and you really resonate and believe with your intention, then you're solid, you're good.
Yeah.
And people use like crystals and other things that are permission slips to feeling that intention. But yeah, I think it all comes down to intention for sure.
I like that too, because, even with like ghost hunting, like if something just randomly comes up and you don't have like your black tourmaline,
Then you're instantly like, oh shoot.
But yeah, it's nice because then it's like we have to remember that we have the power, that, like you said, we can set that intention and we can set that boundary. And knowing, I did hear of a couple situations, on other podcasts and stuff where they were communicating, and I don't know if this was specifically like through a Ouija board or what, but communicating with someone from the other side, and it was kind of like an imitation spirit of someone else.
And that's always so, it's always so like, you never know.
Right.
You really never know. And I mean, I just recommend not doing it if you're not clear and ready. And I think we're all guided to these things, like when we are ready. But yeah, just don't jump into these things until, you get the go ahead from your body or like intuition and all of that.
And to just trust. I think that's something that I've learned in trying to like develop my intuition and on my journey, is the one thing that kind of kills this and kills communicating with the other side and your higher self is doubt. I think doubt is like,
Yeah, it's so sad, because even like if you tell whoever it is, there's certain people in my life that I'll say this exact thing to them and they still doubt, and like they know, they hear it, and it's just such like a disease,
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the psychic work too. I mean, you kind of have to trust yourself to some extent and to know that,
Yeah.
your intentions are true and that, yeah, that it's all legit.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you talk a little bit more about the quantum healing and the mental body recalibration? So, what are some of the like the blockages that you find, in some
Sure,
ways that
yeah.
you clear it?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, the way that I interpret quantum healing is I mean, we're all energetic beings. I really do believe that we're before people, we're, beyond the character that we incarnate with and identify with so strongly and create an ego to, act and perform and form relationships with others. And um, I think, I mean, the main goal is to connect with each client as deeply as I can beyond that character that they are and getting them to see their true potential beyond them. And so that's where the mental and emotional recalibration comes into play, where they kind of just lay it all out there and tell me where, what's going on in their life and what what they're booking a session with me for. And we just begin kind of picking apart the things that I feel as if that they can see beyond or create a better thought for. So, or a better emotion, or just understanding their ability to go beyond these limitations. And so let's say somebody comes in and they did have a religious background, but they're also receptive to understanding something more. Um, they begin telling me like what they believe in and where their faith kind of lies in their life. And without, forcing any opinions or theories upon anybody, I provide them with a more resonant form of whatever it is that they're bringing to the table. And, it's up to them if they want to take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just, going beyond the self in order. And I mean, it all depends on the person, because if they're coming to really connect in and get those synchronicities and those signs and things, we're going to start there and we're going to begin like taking out, the doubt that is so rapid in their existence and going through different ways that they doubt themselves or doubt their ability or doubt that they're like whoever it is that's crossed over is even still around. And
Yeah.
yeah, and starting there. But then I mean, it could start from there. It could go all the way to wanting to see beyond the character that is, Brittany and Cody, and seeing the loved one who has crossed over for who they truly are and for who you truly are, without taking the importance or the magic away from the connection that you still have with that person and the synchronicities that are still possible and the magic of life. Like, it doesn't, even though it's going beyond the person, there's still so much magic in that. And there's still
Yeah.
polarity and duality and all of that jazz. So
And it's beautiful because it's almost like a self-healing
it is.
work technique, because they're like peeling off their layers and they're really getting to know themselves on a deeper level as well.
Yeah. And with that, you're also understanding your loved one and why, this all happened to them, and like just a bigger meaning to life.
Yeah.
A more full life is kind of the goal.
What do you think happens when we cross over?
That's an interesting one, because I feel like there's so many levels to that. Especially with what I was saying to like the characters, like a character. There's a
Yeah,
Brittany.
I know.
There's a
Sorry,
Ken.
it's a very broad question, but you can take it
It is,
wherever
but
you
it's
want
cool
to.
because I think there's so many different ways of looking at it. But, I do believe that the character of us is born and dies. And, there's grieving that needs to take place for those who, are missing that character and that person who, has all of these qualities and characteristics and personality traits. And I don't think that the version of the character dies per se. Like, I don't believe in that. I think in our hearts and in our connection with each other, we keep them alive. And, again, like, whatever you believe, I think you see more of. And if you want that communication with that character, you will see signs of them and synchronicities, and sometimes even direct communication with that consciousness. But going beyond that, like, it doesn't even resonate to say that, like, we are born and we die, because I feel as though, like, we're all just one creation. That, I mean, I also don't believe that time truly exists at the core.
Right.
I think it's like a man-made construct. And, with that being said, it wouldn't really resonate or make sense to say that we incarnate and we're born into this life and then we die, because I think that I do truly believe that we're infinite. And a way that helps me really understand that, because I feel like those words are so thrown around in, like, the spiritual community, and it's hard to really grasp sometimes, like the word consciousness or awareness or infinity or just going beyond and all of that. What has helped me really understand that and personalize that in my own understanding is, if you are sitting here in the present moment, you're present, you're here, there's something that is, even though your mind and your thoughts are running and racing, you have emotions coming in and all of these different connections with people and things like that are just so important and so relevant, there's still something that has been present and is present in this moment right now, as all of that is coming and going, that has been present since you were a baby and is going to be present with you for the entirety of your life. And so when you think of it like that way, and how there's been an ongoing infinite thing that, or I guess thing is a funny word to say it as, but just presence that is continuous and just constant and full of life and just providing, it just provides so much experience to kind of come in to your experience. You can really get a taste for that infinite nature that exists. And I'm very lucky, again, with my brother, to really understand beyond this lifetime, because I think that that's like, oh, well, you could ask yourself, like, oh, well, how do you know, like, what's before, like, you're born, or like after you die, like, is that still there? And, with my brother being the catalyst, I was able to, like, confirm that. And because, I mean, all of these signs and all of these magical things that have taken place in my life are just indescribable. And it's not like human, and it's absolutely beyond human consciousness to, like, just, create these, like, things that show up in thin air.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean,
and when it comes to, like, kind of passing over, it's always interesting, because I feel like when someone's dying, that they're a little bit more kind of in tune with the other side at that point.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a knowing. And then once they pass over, through your experience or what you believe, do you think that there's a certain amount of time that it takes for them to be able to communicate, or to to communicate with them?
Yeah, I've always wondered. It's something that, I don't think we'll ever know until we're in that moment. But personally, in my experience, I mean, my brother, he passed over from an overdose. And so, I mean, we don't really know what he was feeling or what that transition was like, or like how long it took him to really, it was an accidental overdose. So we don't know how long, like, it took, his consciousness to, like, get over that, like, sudden, like, unexpected type of experience to happen to him. And but immediately, I mean, once we all kind of, I guess it's subjective, because I guess there's certain people, this wasn't the case for my family or I, but that just jump into wanting to, like, get those signs and wanting to open themselves up to something beyond
Yeah.
them. And, I think there's a grieving process. And with that, I think the people who are grieving, um, they, they need time to grieve. It's not like and so they're like bogged down and they're not, in their most receptive state at that point. It's people become selfish, rightfully so, because, it's all, you got to go through those emotions and figure out like how you're going to work through them.
A lot of emotions for sure.
Yeah. And so, people aren't really thinking to like open the door immediately. But I think if we, accept the idea of death as not as horrific and it like finite as, we're conditioned to believe, then I think I'm truly believe that we have the potential to like get that communication directly, immediately. And there's never like a period of time that has to pass in order for, them to be ready. But, it takes everybody grieves differently. It takes everybody a certain amount of time. And, but I do believe that, once we pass over, I guess there, if we talk like dimensionally and all the different like parallel realities that we all have access to, I do believe that there's certain aspects of the soul that, same with in real life, if you're confused and you're not sure what decision to make, you're exactly that. You're not sure what decision to make and you're confused. And I think just as you're stuck in that time of confusion, I think that when you die, if you're confused and don't know like what's happening, or if it's like an unexpected death, there's an aspect of you that doesn't understand. And
Yeah, I feel like the unexpected deaths for sure. I think that there could be like a longer period of transition.
yeah,
That's kind of how I look at it. And I think it's also interesting too because on the other side, or that dimension, that there's no such thing as space or time.
mm-hmm.
So like for us it might be 8 months, for them it's kind of, the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no time. So in this realm, in like the 3D realm where there is time and space, it could feel much longer. But at the same time, I do feel there is an aspect of us that may take, some time to, or may never really come to those terms. But I do feel like with the parallel realities thing, I think that there's an aspect of us that is completely at peace and knows all of the answers, like right
Yeah,
as we crossover.
for sure. For sure. And I like to think that we don't really feel any pain at the time of our death. I think it's more of a beautiful thing. And just reading different books on that, I don't know. There's so many amazing, beautiful stories on like that transition period. And also, I like to think after that we are like busy. Like I heard we have like other things to do and other responsibilities. I know when my grandma passed away a few years ago, my sister went to a psychic like shortly after, and the psychic said that she had like a lot going on the other side. Like she sent a couple signs and communicated, so that it felt, it was like communication for sure. But she was like, yeah, she's just really busy. Like she doesn't have time to talk.
And I think that that's super true, especially with, I'm sure in her incarnation and in her lifetime, she was probably busy as well. And like, it's like, I think those personality traits carry over. And I think that that's what's so special and so cool is like, we literally never die. Like those
Yeah.
characteristics and personality traits live on forever.
It's like our soul, right? The things that
Yeah,
we truly love about each other is what, kind of remains.
exactly. Yeah. It's really, really magical and really cool. And I know it's hard to hear, I'm sure, for some people who, have loved ones who have recently passed or not recently, but are still grieving. And it's hard to hear that it's, beautiful and magical. But, I truly do believe that it's possible. And I will say this, and I know it's hard to hear sometimes, but peace is absolutely possible after you lose somebody that you love. And
Right.
I feel like we're so conditioned to believe that, we either have to, or it just makes sense to like deal with like missing somebody forever and like losing a piece of somebody in your life that was so impactful. But I mean, they really haven't gone anywhere, and it's just as simple as that. It just depends on, your beliefs and what you're looking to find in this lifetime.
And that's why I think your work is so inspiring too, because, we could have two different thought forms, and it's easier said than done, but we could either, just accept the death, the complete death of the soul, the body, everything, and just be miserable. Or we could just, communicate and really be open to receiving messages and know that life goes on after.
Yeah, and I mean, the development of who you truly are is really the most important thing. And I know it's hard too for some people to really, because I feel like there's so many people who are just, living for other people and don't put themselves first. And I think, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I really do feel like people need to be more selfish and more, caring about their well-being, because that's what the rest of everybody around you needs. And if you can display that and work on yourself and, either be that example or migrate toward certain friends who are doing the same, it's huge.
It's so important. Now, does any of your work involve like the dream space, or can you communicate in your dreams with loved ones too?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that that's an awesome way, and I feel like people are most vulnerable there, so I do recommend that, depending on like where the person is mentally and emotionally and how open they are on like their daily base or daily routine. But yeah, I think that that's a great tool and permission slip to get that communication flowing. I have done that many times, and I mean, sometimes it'll take a few days. I kind of have to like set the intention and then forget about it, and then it'll kind of manifest in the dream state. And I mean, it's so cool because it feels like so real. It almost feels more real than like physical reality sometimes, your dreams. And yeah, I've had lots of communication that way. It's kind of subsided, I guess is the word at this point. Sometimes he'll just pop in, but I don't really get messages. It's more just like play and more just experience. But absolutely, I think that that's so awesome. Beyond just like my brother, I've had some weird, like trippy dreams that have, happened, and then weird things will happen the next day and kind of things like that.
Yeah, it's crazy because I feel like some dreams can feel so real, and then you wake up, and especially me, I'm so guilty of not writing them down, and I have a whole like journal next to my bed that I call my dream journal, and I'm like, I'm gonna write it down whenever I remember my dream, first thing before I forget, because I always end up forgetting it. And like you said, it's kind of setting the intention before you go to sleep. At least that's kind of what worked for me, but I kind of fell off that, so I want to try to get back into that too.
Yeah. Are you communicating with your grandmother? Do you have anybody else around you who has crossed over that you're trying to connect in with?
So actually, when I did this workshop that I was telling you about, I have a great great grandmother who I never met. I don't have a picture of, but when I was home in Ohio for quarantine, I was on like Ancestry. I was like obsessed with it for a couple months, and we found her gravesite, and I just thought it would be really cool because we know of her, but we don't really have any pictures, and just kind of she had an interesting story. So I chose to communicate with her at that period. And there are other ones. I think it's kind of interesting because for me, it's more in the signs, like it's the synchronicities, like you said. And also I think it's more of like just a knowing. Like I feel certain people's presence around me.
Oh, yeah.
If you kind of set that intention, or if I create a space and I think of this person, and then whether it's a day later, a week later, I just have like that feeling, or it's something outside, like it kind of comes through, and I just have that knowing that person's there. And it's so reassuring.
I know, it makes you feel so good, and it's like nostalgic and sad at the same time. It's interesting because I feel like your great 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 grandmother, she, you didn't meet her, so you didn't have that sadness lingering over her like death.
Yeah.
And so that also helps you stay more receptive and open to possibility, because I do feel like sometimes, I mean, it happens to everybody and it happens in different ways, but I think in the most magical, positive, inspiring ways, if you're, open or not struggling as much, you'll get more magical signs. You'll get more like validation in positive ways because you're more open and receptive to that being a possibility.
Yeah. And I think especially with your mindset set on higher vibrations and being positive versus the negative. But I do want to ask, because you brought it up and I was like, I have to ask this. When it comes to like Ouija boards and some of like the darker experiences, have you had any? And kind of just ghost supernatural experiences?
Yeah. When I was younger, I don't know if you know light as a feather, stiff as a board, or like any of
Yes,
those.
I actually looked that. I googled that up, or googled it up. I like googled it like a week ago because I really I forgot about it and it popped into my head and I was like, I want to try this again. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I used to be into all that stuff. I would Google how to talk to the dead and all that. And I actually bought a Ouija board and my mom was like, no way, this is not staying in our house. And she threw it away and I was so upset. And I just started making my own. And I would go over to my friend's house when we go in their basement and turn off the lights and light some candles and like do that. And I just always thought it was so cool. But I mean, throughout that, like we'll start with the light as a feather, stiff as a board experience, because I was so young and I don't even talk to the people who I was with at that time. So if you're listening, I'm so sorry if I've traumatized you. But we did light as a feather, stiff as a board, and we were on my couch and you put like 2 fingers underneath, and I was the one laying down. You put like 2 fingers underneath the body and they're supposed to start levitating. Never levitated. That never happened. However, I had my eyes closed and I saw these 2 bright green, like lime green, light lit up eyeballs, like demonic, scary looking eyeballs that were staring back at me. And for a minute, like I'd open my eyes and I like started screaming, crying. And every time I closed my eyes, I'd see them again. And it was just so traumatizing and scary. And we were so young. And then I was just like, and then you kind of go about your life and you're like, okay, that wasn't real. There's no way that was real, but it was so real. I was so traumatized and so scared, and I couldn't like sleep at night afterwards. But I mean, all of my friends were like, no way, like I don't believe you.
So scary. Now, is that like a communicating with the dead kind of game, or is it just like something kids play? Because I wasn't sure.
I don't think it's a communicating with the dead type of situation. No,
it could be.
Really don't.
But when I googled it was like I was about to like have people. I wanted to try it because it sounded cool, and I never did it before. But then reading the instructions, it sounded really morbid because the person who's laying there has to be like dead. But then you have to like pretend like it's their funeral, and they say that they're not looking well, they feel sick. So that was kind of a turn off. I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. But
yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that. I guess I didn't look that much into it.
But yeah,
that's horrifying. But yeah, I mean, that's what happened. And in time, the first session I ever had with, I guess you'd say, like an energy healer, the first thing she said was, okay, have you ever played with a Ouija board or done any seances or anything like that as a kid? And I was like, yes. And she was like, you have like demonic energy attached to you. And that's what's been like creating so much resistance and pain and struggle in your like couple years prior to that. And so she had to clear that out. And once I was made aware of it, that wasn't, all I needed. It took time, and I was so fearful and stuff like that. But after time, it cleared out, and I feel much better.
Now, was she able to clear it, or was that something that you had to do on your own?
Yeah, I mean, she does. She sets that intention, and she does it. And she said that I was clear, and then she told me every single day that I wake up just to set the intention of clearing it. And if I'm ever like drinking or exposing myself just to vulnerability,
right,
I had to like kind of create like a shield from whatever that entity was until it like wasn't interested in me anymore.
Oh yeah.
And then, I mean, but beyond the Ouija, I've had the Ouija board kind of successfully work. It's always hard to know though when you're with a bunch of like young friends if someone was moving it or like who was doing it. But I swear I never moved it. But I've had like Ouija boards move before, and I've talked to like different, I don't even remember their names. I was so young, but like different entities and things
Yeah.
like that. And then so I never had like a terrifying experience.
Do you
with
think
Ouija
it was the
board.
Ouija board that let that like spirit in, that
I
entity?
think that it was, yeah, I think it was my ignorance and just like, I was just so like, I didn't really see the value or like respect to like what that practice was. And when I was young, I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like I loved scary stuff. I loved haunted houses. And I just wanted to like, I didn't even know if I believed in it, but I just wanted to do it. And I always thought that it was so fun. And I think it was just, yeah, not respecting the practice. And, I think that if you're vulnerable and a young, stupid little girl, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff will like linger. And it's traumatizing.
Yeah, my friend.
And then,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
just after that, then I'd just have like, I'd be laying in bed and see like shadows in my room and be terrified and not be able to sleep. I'm finally able to sleep since meeting my boyfriend and like really clearing everything out for the first time from my entire life because I was so scared to sleep at night.
Yeah.
And I think that had a lot to do with just being open to that kind of creepy stuff.
Well, that's good that you were able to clear it out, and doing the work that you do now, I'm sure even just acknowledging it and being aware of it is like a huge part of it too.
Yeah, and being able to just see beyond it too
Yeah,
is
exactly.
super important. But you said you had a friend?
Yeah, so I had a friend, her name's Nikki. She was actually on the podcast too, and she talked about her experience with the Ouija board. And she thinks, I don't know if she still feels this way, but there was like kind of a negative entity surrounding her too. So it was kind of like the same situation. So I'm going to have to tell her about just kind of setting that intention every morning and to clear it out if she's still having problems with it.
Just like the body kind of knows how to heal itself, I think we just our souls and whatever it is, our emotions, our mind, they know how to. It all knows. It's all in intelligence. It all knows how to heal itself. And as long as you're intentional, and if you're sick or needing medication and things of that nature, I'm not saying you shouldn't follow like doctor's orders, but I do think that when it comes to like the spiritual realm and emotions and things like that, it is possible with intention and just desire and interest to go beyond it and to, really feel it too at the same time and not be so identified with what is going on inside of you or what you're experiencing outside of you.
Yeah, for sure. And what advice would you give to someone who may be listening and kind of wants to start the journey, but they're not sure if they're ready? I guess when would they know that they're ready? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever a when, because it's very, very subjective. And I think, like I was just saying, like really trusting your process. And if you're interested, that's all that matters, because the time will come when you're introduced to the right people or the right guidance or the right videos on YouTube and the right books and things like that, that really provide you with that support. And so I think it's just trusting that process. I really do. And if you know about intention, just being intentional about your day and just doing your best and doing the work that you can do, that you're capable of. And
I like that saying of the teacher appears when the student is ready.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's happened with so many different teachers, and it continues to happen whenever I'm ready to kind of go beyond whatever lesson it is that I've learned or I'm going through. It happens, like it just happens naturally, and you got to trust that flow and that intelligence that is there for you. It's constantly there for you.
Yeah. No, I have just a couple roundup questions. Do you have one kind of overall message for people who are in the grieving period right now, who are very kind of down in the dumps and just need a message or a sign? What would you suggest?
I would suggest just accepting where you're at and grieving and feeling the pain, feeling the hatred and the emotion or the love or the miss or whatever it is that you're feeling, and you're grieving and you're feeling dissonance in your body. Just feel it and be relentless and just really go there. While simultaneously knowing that there's an aspect of you that is constantly okay. It's been there with you the entirety of your life, and it will continuously be there to provide you with more experiences and more love and more pain and all of these polarity, different experiences. And just try your best to connect in with that aspect of yourself that is unwavering and untouchable and will be there and is provided for you for infinity, for forever. And if you allow yourself to really feel what you're going through, but also simultaneously stay aware of that concept, then you're going to work through so much crap so much quicker and so much more efficiently. And yeah, it becomes kind of like a beautiful experience no matter what it is you're going through, whether it be good or bad.
And that you're safe and that you're growing and that, yeah.
Absolutely. It's a constant evolution, and you're absolutely safe, and you've been safe your whole life. And I know it may feel like hard and heavy, but you'll absolutely be okay.
Do you have a favorite self-help book?
Yeah, I do. So when I first started with all of this, I was gifted a book. I was gifted a book called Spirited by Rebecca Rawson, and it helps you like directly communicate with those on the other side. And that book is absolutely magical. Like, I don't know if I can really get into the ins and outs of like what it provided, but the experiences and the validation and the direct contact that it provided was absolutely insane, and can't put it into words. So Spirited, Rebecca Rawson, and it's all about communicating with those on the other side.
Perfect. I'm gonna have to add that to my long list of to read books.
You should read it too, Tim.
Yeah. No, I really
cool.
that sounds awesome. And then your favorite self-care practice.
I mean, I think it's important to just take time alone. That's like the main thing. And really get comfortable with yourself without feeling lonely, and really feeling, and like, I feel like there becomes a time, like after you do that for so much time, that you crave being alone, and just spending as much time alone as you can with your thoughts, with whatever it is. And, you know, if you want to go beyond your thoughts and that kind of stuff, just meditate and sit with yourself and allow what's coming through to come through, and what you want to let go of, because you have free will and you have the ability to choose what you want for you. And I think it's just, harnessing that power that we all have access to. But yeah, I guess, I mean, meditating is so cliche, but it's so important. It really is.
So important. Mm-hmm. And alone time to recharge.
Oh yeah. I mean, it took me like 3 years to, and I'm not saying that that's the way it's going to be for everybody, because I think that we can jumpstart that process. But for me, just because I was so far gone in like my life, like it took me 3 years, and it was a loving practice and amazing. And it wasn't like a chore or anything, but it was, and I still continuously like integrate that into my everyday life, but I was like committed to it, and it was magical. And yeah, everybody deserves to experience themselves at their highest potential and at their like calmest and chillest potential too.
Yes. Well, Brittany, thank you so much. I loved our chat.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Now, what is the easiest way for someone listening who wants to contact you for a session or follow you on social media?
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is a Meaning To Mourning, mourning with a U. And I mean, you can just go to my website on the link, from the link in my bio, and you can, if you want to email me, or if you want to book a session, you can do that as well under the services page on my website.
Yay, perfect. Thanks, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. It was so good to talk to you.